Now, we got a lot to talk about with this whole Ryan Garcia situation that's going on right now. But before we get into the failed drug test, I just take me back to April 20th. What was your reaction first to Ryan Garcia coming in 3 pounds overweight?
Well, first of all, I didn't see the fight. I just saw clips of the fight. Um, why he came in 3 pounds overweight, only he knows. Uh, but the fight was accepted, so you have to take the fight. And once you accept the fight, that means you're in ownership of the fight. Um, that's something that should have been talked about before and not after. So it was permissible, it was permitted, it was compensation involved. So it's really nothing to talk about.
Absolutely. Now you say you didn't watch the fight, so I won't really ask you about that. But what's your reaction to Ryan Garcia failing? First, his A sample came back positive, then also his B sample came back positive. What's your reaction to Ryan Garcia taking PEDs?
Well, there's two happenings here. You're living in it has happened, and you're living in what's happening. So what has happened is that he's come up positive with two PEDs in his system. If you're living in what's happening, there's room for him to vindicate himself if that's possible, through contamination, through somebody slipping him something. There's room for him to try to prove his innocence. And until that comes along and be proven to what actually happened, then I can deal with what's happening. But it's an unfortunate situation. It's a dangerous situation if it's true. But until what's happening comes along and determines how it got in his system and he can prove what he's saying, then it's just a wait and see.
So is that like a? I mean, I don't want to say if it's a real thing, but fighters being slipped something in camp, does that normally like is that like a normal occurrence?
Well, it does seem like a far-fetched situation, particularly if the person is part of your team. But a lot of fighters have said this has happened to them before. You never know what goes on in camp. A strength and conditioning coach could be bitter at what he's going to get paid, or he could be getting something from somebody who says this is clean, this is all right. I mean, the fighter has no way of testing it. The strength and conditioning coach, if he's the one, not saying he's the one who did it, has no way of testing it. The chef has no way of testing it. So it's it's a real touchy situation. But the fact is that it's in his system, and he's gonna have to prove his innocence on how it got there.
How much does the owners sit with the fighter to know what's going in their body? Because at the end of the day, it's like if it's in your body, then you had to somehow take it. So how much onus should we put on the fighter to know, to have tested everything that goes in their body?
Well, the responsibility lies directly with the fighter. He has to know what he's taking. If it's a supplement, he needs to know where that supplement came from. He needs to know the history of that supplement. You have to be very careful of the supplement, even off the shelf. You have to be very careful, or just somebody giving you vitamins. This is good for you. This is B vitamins. So you're responsible for what goes on in your body, and because you're the one that's going to be 100% accountable. So it's again, it's a situation where he's going to have to prove that it was something beyond his knowledge. Otherwise, he's sitting right there holding the crow.
When all of this came out, Devin Haney did an interview with ESPN Sports Center, and they were asked him about would he be interested in maybe facing Ryan Garcia again, and he said no. What's your reaction to that?
Hold on, I couldn't hear you for a second. Say it again.
Okay. So Devin Haney did an interview with ESPN Sports Center, and they brought up the possibility of a rematch with Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney totally shut that down. Are you surprised that Devin won't want to get back in there and avenge that loss if it does come back that he came up dirty? I mean, that he knowingly took the PEDs?
Well, knowing human nature, that's how Devin feels at the moment. He's not far off from being in that fight. So I'm sure he feels some kind of way at the moment. But in the next few months, he might won't get back. So I wouldn't put too much on it. He's a fighter. He has a lot of pride. He has a lot of belief in his skills. He's able to go to the drawing board and figure out what went wrong. He has some results he needs to wait out and see how that turns out with Ryan, whether he's being guilty or whether he's been vindicated. And I'm sure he's young, so he has a lot of time. That fight could happen 3 years from now, and both of them won't even be 30. So he has a lot of time to reassess that situation. And he might just say, you know what? I changed my mind. I want you. So right now I can understand him feeling that way a couple of weeks from the fight, out of the fight and how everything turned out for him. Uh, and it takes time for fighters to sort out uh, that type of situation, coming out of that situation, his first loss, things like that, having to take all the abuse on the internet, having to take all the abuse from the press that don't like him and his dad, and things like that. A lot of ugly things being said, a lot of biased press going against him, a lot of people questioning his chin, a lot of people questioning his skills. So there are a lot of things that he has to internalize and deal with. Hopefully, he'll emerge out of that, and I think he'll become a better fighter because of it.